Monkey. Meow meow. Yeah. Come over here. Come here. Come here. Well, I was just watching the craziest clip. I actually saw it on Brandon Tatum's channel. I know a lot of people are like angry with him right now. I don't really care. I'm not here to argue about him or defend him because, whatever about him. But it was a CNN discussion that just happened. I don't know if it was last night or yesterday. At some point, could have looked into that. And they're having a discussion about immigration. And of course, there's all these crazy liberals, and they have like one of their talking heads, their token people that they put on there to seem like maybe they're a little bit conservative, but they're not really conservative. And then Scott Jennings and okay, I think this is the actual clip. Yes. This is the actual clip here. I know it's gonna be kind of like backwards for you guys. And good afternoon, by the way. These people were discussing it, right? And this one lady, hold on. I simply cannot. The premise of this whole show was that the Atlantic has apparently broken a story that a third of ICE agents failed the fitness standards, right? You know what the most hilarious thing that I heard in this entire clip was this lady saying, tell me who she is. I know she's somebody that I should recognize, but I just don't. This lady right here saying they shouldn't lower standards to meet a quota. She literally said those words out of her mouth. And I'm like, I agree. That's what we've been saying about DEI for years, right? Like, completely agree. We shouldn't lower standards to be able to meet a quota, whether it's ICE agents or college admissions, right? Definitely not something that we should do. Agree. Right. Precisely. Welcome, Mike. Hello. I'm like, listen, you literally just said the definition of it. And I'm like, sorry, it's funny reply. I could have had it queued up. But they're just going back and forth and back and forth. And this lady, someone remind me who she is, because I know she's somebody, but I can't, I'm bad with names today. This one right here, keeps saying all these crazy things about, how ICE has, she said there's been 170 United States citizens illegally detained. Okay, even if we give you that, how many have we deported at this point? Almost 500,000, and it's like 1.4 million have self-deported or something along those lines. So I feel like, personally, that's pretty good numbers for that high, right? For like 500,000, 1.4 million versus 170 is what she's claiming, which I don't know that I believe her statistics to begin with, because she also says that ICE is leaving babies on the side of highways and all this crazy stuff. So I'm not. Anna Navarro, thank you. And she's like, they're leaving babies and this happened in this state. And I'm like, oh, you mean you saw a video on like TikTok or something? And this is what you're making your entire claim based off of. That's lovely. It makes me really crazy, because we're still going back to this thing. We had a discussion yesterday about how now we have facts, numbers that back it up, that illegal aliens commit up to 400 times more crimes than legal residents or legal aliens in 10 of the border states, right? The thing that we discussed yesterday, the new study, the poll of all the pool of all this information that's been released has shown that, depending on the state, it was like a city in Texas. Let me just hold on. Let me just pull it up. Let me just do that. But depending on where you were, that you're up to 400 times more likely to commit crimes as an illegal alien. Okay, it was the SCAP data that they had compiled, pardon me, and the states, the 10 states were California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Arizona, Washington, Nevada, Oregon, and New Mexico, right? And of those states, good morning, Bonsai. Hello, darling. Yeah, for the 2024 year. It was the entire year of 2024. And yesterday I dropped, if you go to my live yesterday, in the description of that live, there's 4 or 5 links that contain all of the information that I talked about yesterday. Good morning, Rick. I'm just talking about this. So this comes from SCAP, who is, what does it stand for? I forgot. I have already forgotten. SCAAP. Here it is. The State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, which is a federal program that pays back states, reimburses them for having to house illegal criminals within the state level, right? Welcome, everyone. And so they went through SCAP data, and I went through it a little bit yesterday, but some of you weren't here. I'll catch you up. They went through in these 10 states, and in order to meet the criteria to qualify to be within this paper, right? They had to be proven illegal. It's the same criteria that they had to be counted in this survey of people, if you will. They had to be proven illegal by ICE. They had to be convicted of a different crime, nothing related to immigration, so not illegal re-entry, not identity theft, nothing immigration adjacent at all. It had to be theft, assault, something like that, right? Non-immigration related crime, and convicted. Those were the 3 criteria. Not arrested, convicted, and actually charged with a crime. So in those 10 states that I just listed off, I'll go one by one. There's actual percentages broken down, lots of numbers, graphs, but in California, illegal aliens are 231% more likely to commit crime. Texas is 60%, Florida 78%, New York 187%, New Jersey 440% more in New Jersey likely for illegal aliens to commit crimes. Arizona 301%, Washington 248%, Nevada 161%, Oregon 267%, and New Mexico 42%. More likely for illegal aliens to commit crime, right? And I bring that up because they're still peddling on CNN days after this information is released, a major news network, that somehow illegal aliens are less likely to commit crime, which we have at this point proven to be false. Crime is down 4%. Forgot to tell people the crime was up 48%. Yeah, right, exactly. Great point, Mike. Great point. Ghost criminal. Bad. New Mexico's high. Yep, New Mexico's one of the highest. No, New Mexico's one of the lowest. I lied. It was New Jersey I was thinking of, not New Mexico. But, 42% more likely. That's still... But it's because of the total... This is why, though. Get this. Of the total number of illegal aliens currently incarcerated in 2024, anyway, all the other states have thousands and thousands, right? 2,400 is the least before New Mexico. New Mexico has 907 documented illegal aliens that are incarcerated. Right. Well, they're 42% more likely with less than 1,000 incarcerated, which is crazy, right? Because it's also 0.667% percentage of legal citizens that are incarcerated. And it's like you take, what's the highest one? For example, the highest one's New Jersey, right? In New Jersey, there's almost 10,000 illegal aliens incarcerated, right? But only 0.32% of legal aliens or citizens that are incarcerated. So it depends how they get that number, depending on how many are incarcerated and how many of the, that's how the number is broken down. How many citizens are incarcerated versus how many illegal aliens there are. And their total illegal alien population in New Mexico is also a lot less. It's 96,000, when the rest are all the way up to, let's see, New Jersey's 500,000, 563,000. California, 2,646,000. So nothing ever happens here. Documented keyword. Right. And that's exactly right. I try bonsai. Yes, we love Mike. We love Mike around here. And he bought it. So glad you all are here. But no, that's exactly the thing that's crazy. Like, these are, a lot of people have tried to attack this data since it's come out, but I find that it's incredibly reliable because of the standard that they set to be able to report these numbers, right? So these numbers don't account for all the illegal aliens that are in ICE custody, all the illegal aliens that have been charged but not convicted, all of the illegal aliens in county jails that are not serving prison sentences yet because they haven't been convicted, right? All of the illegal aliens that they haven't proven are illegal yet, that they're still working with ICE to prove, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In order to be included in these numbers specifically in this one study, you had to be proven to be an illegal immigrant via cooperation with ICE, convicted of a non-immigration related offense, and already sentenced. So I actually like that it's such a strict criteria because it gives less wiggle room for people to try and find excuses to push it aside, if that makes sense. Right, exactly, Bonsai. I think that's a lot of the reason when we look at that number that it's a lot lower is because it's a smaller population of illegal immigrants generally, and of legal citizens. Hey, Theo, how are you, dear? Right, no, that's exactly right, Mike. Probably the rest of them. I don't really know that. I would have to look further into SCAP to find some answers for that. Maybe that could be a topic for a different live, because I haven't researched SCAP more in depth yet. But I know that these, I believe every state reports to SCAP. I could be wrong, but SCAP is, so far as I understand it, SCAP is the federal program that they have to count these illegal aliens up to be able to turn it in so that they could be reimbursed. Like, say you or me go to prison, right? A lot of people also asked me in some comments yesterday, after the live was posted, well, why are they getting reimbursed in the first place? Why would they care? Etc., right? Say you and me end up in prison, and we have an illegal alien friend with us. So the three of us go to prison. When you and I are in prison, it's the taxpayer that funds our way through prison, right? Our 3 hots and a cot a day, that's funded by the taxpayer at the state and sometimes federal level. It depends on which prison you're in. Or if you're in a privatized prison, sometimes they make money off of your free label, but that's a whole different conversation. Regardless, they're funded through the taxpayers, right? Whereas our illegal alien friend, they're putting out the money to take care of them, which is like 22 cents a day per inmate, but don't even get me started on that discussion. They're doling out the money to take care of them, and they're not getting any of that taxpayer fund back for the illegal alien because they're not a citizen. So in order to get that money back, they have to go to the federal government and say, hey, we have incarcerated 286 illegal immigrants in this prison, and it's totaled us $10,000. And they show documentation to prove that that's the case, and the federal government pays them back. That's why it matters, right? Hey, Kelly, how are you, dear? Thank you, darling. Good morning, good morning. In my area, hundreds of truck drivers work in the oil field, about 90% confident. Yep. Right. And we started to see that, how many videos have we seen of some of these truckers getting in terrible accidents, right? There was that one that was like, because the guy was in a turban, it went viral. Let's all be very, very honest, it looked bad. And he killed someone because he made an illegal turn and they ran right into him, right? Just like they do with the homeless. Right. Right. I don't even get me started on the truck driving thing because I know there's been, even in East Tennessee, we've dealt with that problem. We have a few of our mountain roads up in the Great Smoky Mountains that are clearly like they're switchbacks, like you were not supposed to drive through them, right? However, these people know if they're going somewhere like pretty much anywhere outside of the mountain, over the mountain, like the Carolinas, anywhere up the coast, etc., they're going to go 2 to 3 hours longer if they get on the regular interstate like they're supposed to. And so they want to cut through on these mountain roads, even though they're switchbacks that are barely big enough to fit a regular car. And they cause accidents up there all the time. And then the mountain road highway, quote unquote, is shut down for sometimes an entire day just because they wanted to save themselves an hour. It's. Tennessee is beautiful. I love my East Tennessee. Thank you, Theo. That's very sweet. Thank you. I hope you're doing well today. I'm not driving. I'm sitting. Yes, you're coming here. Are you so excited? The leaves have finally turned. You asked me about the seasons and how it's going to be. It's cold in the mornings and pretty warm in the afternoon. The leaves are starting to turn, but they haven't all died out yet, the trees. So it's a pretty beautiful time in East Tennessee. Wonderful time to be an East Tennessean. I was dropping this time of year, so interesting, because we have like less daylight hours, period. Just as Americans, it's wintertime. We know how this works. Well, now when I drop the kids off to school, as I'm driving home, the sun is really just now peeking up over our mountains, because before we get any sunlight, it's got to come all the way up the mountain ridge, right? So I was gonna take a picture, but I was on the phone. I'm gonna try to take a picture tomorrow because it was beautiful, right? I came over the little hump on the road, coming back towards the house, dropping the kids off. Came over the little hump, and I saw the big mountain ridge, and of course, they call it the Smoky Mountains because there's all this fog that lingers in the morning. So it was like foggy but clear enough to see, and the sun was just peeking out over the top of the tallest mountain, and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, I need a picture, but I was on the phone, so. Oh, oh, yes. I can't imagine living anywhere else other than East Tennessee. Surely not after all this craziness has begun either. I've seen cities that I've thought were, wonderful all over the news for all kinds of crazy things. ICE raids, and they're eating the cats and dogs and all this crazy things. And I just can't imagine being anywhere else in the U.S. right now. It's a beautiful place, and I'll still take my problems in East Tennessee over some of the other problems people have in the U.S. right now. And Augusta, okay. You know what I really want to go see? And it's like a 2-hour drive from me, I think, or like an hour and a half. I've Google mapped it before. It's not too far. Is the big, it just escaped my mind. Like with the 13 families, and if you're Mason, the big Masonic, I cannot English today. I am so sorry. The big Masonic, it's like a tribute. There's bricks from like every country in the world, or several countries of the world, like from China and Germany, and like all these bricks in this tower type, like almost like a chimney, but it's just there like as a memorial. Like, I don't really know if it's a memorial or just like a, I'd have to look it up. I'm not really sure what its purpose it was, other than being like a monument, I guess, to Masons. I'm not really even sure what word I should use, but it's really interesting. It's got all of these bricks from all these different countries, and it's not. Hi, Madison. Oh, hi. How are you, dear? Welcome, welcome. Should have hopped out with a parachute. Might be dangerous. Oh, yeah. Yeah, people don't, temple. Well, but I don't think it's an actual temple. It's just like this, monument. Well, maybe there's I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. Let me get some more information before I say, because I'm like, I don't want to say, is there a temple in East Tennessee? Hold on. Tennessee Masonic, not a lodge, monument. Let me not lie to you. Let me just look it up. Okay, here we go. I don't see a temple nearby. It's just, it's in Haintuga Ridge, Oh, okay. It's not in Tennessee. It's right over the border into North Carolina. I know it's gonna like be backwards, but I'm still gonna show you. See what I mean? When I say it was like a almost like a chimney looking thing. You see what I mean? It's like you know, I'm not sure that it's like a an exact purpose for it other than to just but you see all these like rocks and bricks. They're from like all over the world. Anyway, I just think it's really interesting and I would like to go there. I can't remember why I was talking about that. Slash fireplace. Yeah, a monument fireplace, obviously. North Dakota when I was a kid. Oh, okay. They're never. Oh yeah, I have a thing about Masons. You know, I feel like at their core they're um slightly demonic? Question mark. I don't know. You know, I could be talking into the ether here, but it's my understanding that there is some form of devil worship associated um with American Masons anyway. So I'm not sure. I'm slightly demonic. You know. Don't kill me. I am not feeling depressed in any way, and I would never hurt myself before I say anything about the Masons. Let me just get that out there. Oh, you know, I don't know. I haven't seen any bears, but I wouldn't unless I went up to the mountains. They may be sleeping already for the wintertime. I'm not sure. I would have to check into that for you. I know there's plenty of deer running around. Not that they hibernate, but yeah, that's slightly demonic. I've got cats all around. Meow. Oh, I did have. Oh, I do still have a cat back here. Oh. Say hi, Loki. Bears. This is a Loki butt. Come here and say hi. Don't be antisocial. This bear's out. Slightly demonic hibernation. This is a Loki. He's a happy cat. He cannot be bothered right now. Look at him. He's like, whatever. This is the patient cat. He's grown up with 2 babies, and he's just really, really chill, you know? Thank you for letting me catnap you. You can lay back down now. He's a sweetheart. There's bears in there, wards. I know that's right. You know, it's crazy the kinds of things tourists will say. Like, they'll come around, and I've known a lot of people who work up in the, like, touristy traps, like the restaurants and stuff up there. And my mother-in-law used to work up there, and she'd tell me stories about how people would come in and ask her, like, what time do they let the bears out? And there was a couple who came in 2 or 3 days in a row and asked if they were going to turn on the smoke machines yet. And because she's just her hilarious self, she's like, no, you got about another hour. Like, they're going to literally turn on huge fog machines to make the Smoky Mountains smoky, right? All the bears hibernate. Oh, we're loving on each other. How nice. You think she needs a bath? This is the less patient of the two. This is Fluffy Butt. Here, let me show off the Fluffer Butt. Come here. She doesn't like to be shown off too much. But this is Fluffy. You might be able to tell where she gets her name. Hi. She's patient with me. Not as patient with the kiddos. Because she's old and stuck in her ways and ornery. Stoned bears. I've been watching a whole lot of this ice content from people like Cam Higby. I've been following him a lot. I'm in his Discord. I hang out in some of his voice channels a lot because there's some really cool people in there. And Nick Shirley, and who was the other one? There's another guy that I watched that had been going out there. Of course, um, Liberty Hangout. Her name just flew out of my head. I can't remember anybody. And I know Savannah did a few episodes, like Savannah. What is with me not being able to think of words today? Anyway, I've been watching all of them and all the Ice content, and it's been crazy. Sasquatch enthusiasts. Oh, is Sasquatch real? Probably so. Look, I've heard tree knocking. Maybe I'll tell my story one day. I've heard some tree knocking. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a squatch, but I've heard some tree knocking. Portland Andy. That sounds familiar. I'll have to look. I know there's a lot of people that are there on the ground because when I do watch the live streams, there's like the same people who were there again, type of a deal. And it's obvious they're there like daily for content. Tommy Boy, that's another one. A lot of people don't like him. I haven't really watched a whole lot of his content, but I've seen in other people's streams and in some of the Discords, people will say he's an instigator. And he just wants to kind of one-up the people that he's talking to and fire them up, He's just kind of like a shit stirrer. But I can't say that for sure because I really haven't watched enough from him to make a decision either way. Oh, that's a cat. Hi. I've been enjoying Cam's content. He made a friend named Jake, who a lot of us in the Discord have also made friends with, and he's a liberal, and he started out very hateful towards Charlie Kirk and kind of also Cam, and Cam got him a monster and smoked a Black and Mild with him, and after a few days they kind of made friends. And Dave, hello darling. Hello. Zombie bear Sasquatch. Yes, exactly that. Oh, exactly that. Yeah, we've been making some friends. I think we keep having these kinds of conversations, and I've told you guys 100 times that I really think when it comes to kind of reaching across the aisle, I think there's a big reason Charlie Kirk had so many fans and supporters is that he really tried, and I believe he, in good faith, did this. He really tried to find common ground with people, and he remained mostly respectful with people 98% of the time at least. I mean, he had his moments, but even when he like got annoyed with people, let's be really honest, he was still a lot more respectful than most of us would have been. I mean, the things some of these people said to him, and he's like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Or, well, I'm going to be praying for you. Like, the things I would have said would have been more like, well, you can go back to your satanic cult and, do some more ritual sacrifices of babies. Like, how do you remain so patient and kind with people? Probably. Perhaps. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a thing. I feel like a lot of us conservatives, I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone, but I know for myself, something that I have been really trying to do and trying to make a better conscious effort of is not being so like prolifically black and white, right? Not the black and white thinking of like, we're good, you're bad, we're holy, you're evil. Like, automatic condemnation is not going to get us anywhere with these people. And I feel like, we had this conversation in the Discord last night, and I stick by my stance on it. Some people were saying the left is full of people with mental illness. They can't be saved. Don't bother. Yes, he definitely did. That's an amen. Don't bother speaking with them. You're wasting your time, type of a deal, right? For me personally, as someone who was a lifelong liberal into the past 6 or 7 years, I can tell you that I was honestly, my entire life, growing up as a liberal, as I championed the type of causes that now I look at with disgust or like sadness in my heart, like abortion, right? I really thought I was doing the right thing at the time. I really thought I was believing, like, I believed that I was being the more humanitarian in the situation, if that makes sense. Like, I really believed that I was on higher moral ground. And I think it's easy for a lot of us who, and I know a lot of other people feel that same way, that they're coming from a liberal mindset and they found God, they had kids, they grew up, whatever the case may be. Because it's funny, you don't grow into liberalism very often, right? But you grow into conservatism. It's funny how that happens. And it's easy to forget who we were then and not afford other people grace. When I feel like in order to receive grace, you have to give some. Like some people may bite the hand that feeds, but that doesn't mean you starve them to make a point. Nudist alien? Wow. Bears, not bears. That's true. That's very true. Oh, very much so. Very much so. And I think self-righteousness, indignation, very much like I feel when I think of like the normal church crowd, right? Whether it's Catholics, Jews, Protestants, Latter-day Saint, any of them, right? When you have a bunch of religious people, say I was a server for many years, right? Sunday rolls around, you have the religious crowd coming in, and as a server, you're rolling your eyes. You never wanted to work Sunday as a server because you're not going to make shit. Why? Because they're in the pews every Sunday. They give out, I mean, some of them don't even do this, but they give out for tithing. They're there to learn a lesson about humanity and humility and charity and all of these things, right? Except then they go to the restaurant right after their church service and they cuss out their waitress and leave her a 2% tip. Like, it's really the juxtaposition of like, I want people to think I'm a good person, but not actually have the inherent values that a good person would have, and like I want to preach these things but not practice these things, is wild in a lot of church crowds. Bobby! Hello, darling. So good to see you. I love you. Rode in his yard with fertilizer. What did he write? That is crazy. Shook hands with BTK. That's crazy. We're going to have to learn about that sometime. That's insane. But yeah, I completely agree. It's the self-righteousness. It's the, just plain hypocrisy, right? Because we want people to... Oh. Yeah, that would happen. Mm-hmm. It's the hypocrisy of like, I really want you to hear me out and try to understand where I'm coming from as a conservative, but then, and I have done this as well. I'm not, I take responsibility for my wrongs as well. I have definitely at times tried to hear someone out, or at least in my mind said I was going to hear someone out, and then they started talking, and I'm like, that's crazy. You've been indoctrinated, like you're making no sense. And in my mind, already shut them down. Like, I'm not going to hear anything that they say. I'm not going to try and remember that I was there one time in that mindset. I'm not going to remember why I was in that mindset and what made me fall victim to such a way of thinking and actually try and get through to them. I'm just going to tell them how horrible they are. Like, not actually, but actually. Like, let's just be really honest, right? And kooky. Raider. I don't know who Raider was. Oh, that's nice. And that, I feel like hateful rhetoric doesn't get us anywhere on either side, right? And Raider, oh, Dennis Rader, of course, BTK. That's who Bonds I just mentioned. I'm sorry. I squirreled there for a second. And I feel like also a lot of people say about like Charlie Kirk, like it was his hate speech that got him killed. I heard a quote online on a short or something. It said he didn't use hate speech. He used speech you hated, and you killed him for it. And I cannot agree more, because that's 1,000% true. You know what I mean? Like, I don't find that his speech was hateful. And in fact, I find his speech was a lot, although he had what he himself called quote unquote radical ideas compared to a lot of the soft conservatives we see today anyway. I feel the way he spoke to people, the way he would go and talk to these college campuses or events, TPUSA events, whatever it might be, he spoke, he laid his microphone down so that he could hear the other person out. And he was always, he always showed such grace and like patience, like you said, patience of a saint, quite honestly. And I feel like it's crazy that a lot of people view him as such a hateful person when, like, honestly, that's one of the best people you could have hoped to encounter. Of all the conservatives and of all of us who become passionate, right? And can be passionate, he always kept his cool, and it makes me crazy to see people now clipping, and he was somebody who was easy to clip because the way he said things sometimes was a little wild. Like, he would say something to grab your attention and to shut everybody in the crowd up, and then he'd explain it and you'd be like, oh, okay, I can see that. But when you do like tactics like that, attention grabbers, icebreakers, whatever you want to call them, it's really easy for people to then clip that front end off and go and make you sound like you're hateful or bigoted or whatever the case may be, right? And one of the biggest ones going around is something we even discussed in the Discord I mentioned previously yesterday, is this idea that Charlie Kirk did not support the Civil Rights Act, right? And that he thought it was a terrible idea. And I already knew this talking point because I've already seen this many times, but I went ahead and I rewatched a couple of his videos just so that I could really get a full sense that I knew what I was talking about before I readdressed it. And I might do a whole video on this. Originally, I titled the stream, Charlie Kirk wasn't hateful, change my mind, or no, prove me wrong, question mark, but then the immigration thing, whatever. But I went back and I was watching some of his clips, right? And he had been clipped at one point saying that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake, and he had gone on to keep speaking, right? When he was clipped, they clipped that part. And he was asked about it probably 100 times. I've seen tons of clips about it, right? And a few of the ones that stood out is that it's not like that's where his thought ended the first time it was clipped, right? So when a lot of these people asked him about that, he said, well, if you watch the whole video, because people rarely ever do that, he said, I went on to explain that the idea behind the Civil Rights Act was wonderful, valiant, like, we want that. We want to free Americans. We want to correct slavery and all these terrible things, Jim Crow and segregation. However, the way that it was written led to the beast of DEI and the beasts of DEI, and before even that, affirmative action, right? And I can't disagree, because my thought is, yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. Oh my gosh, how many people still bring up the fine people on both sides hoax? Even Reuters, even The Onion, like all of these incredibly liberal sources have themselves fact-checked it and said, okay, we got this wrong. Like, how many times is it going to take before you people just let it go? Like, that's not what he said. It's just ridiculous, but it's exactly what we see with Charlie Kirk as well. He has an entire idea, but people don't like the entire idea because it makes a lot of sense. And when you make a lot of sense and you're conservative, it makes liberals very uncomfortable, right? So instead of putting out his entire thought that he thinks that the structure, because that's what he was saying at the end of the day, it wasn't that he thinks the civil rights movement was a mistake. That's never what he said. He said the structure of the bill, the Civil Rights Act, not civil rights, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. Whether you agree or not, we have to look at the facts, and the facts were, even after the Civil Rights Act, what happened? We still had Jim Crow, we still had segregation in some places, especially the antebellum South, and we still had, even further then, things like redlining and early on gentrification. So obviously the Civil Rights Act, as it was written in 1964, was not, in fact, all that we needed to correct all these problems that happened post-slavery, or we would not have had to have amendments and new laws and bills passed since then. A great thing it was supposed to protect were people with disabilities. It didn't do a good enough job, so then we had to have the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. It was supposed to protect women, right? And obviously that didn't do enough to protect women, because then we had to have, oh my gosh, now it's slipping my mind again. The bill that protects women. Somebody help me out here. I've just got too many thoughts in my head at once. Oh, right, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Charlie Kirk had a problem, and I totally understand why, with the fact that the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is always the one that he referenced, right? The first big bad wolf, the original, if you will, was so broad and so it was trying to basically wrap up everyone that was supposed to be protected, that it wasn't careful enough to exclude things like issues we would have later on, like a big part of this trans ideology that's become toxic and terrible in our society. They liken back to the Civil Rights Act, right? Because a lot of these trans people have used that to say you can't discriminate against me because of X, Y, and Z, right? And a lot of these things that were meant to protect, like affirmative action for women, right? And women's rights and suffrage, even though we could go on a whole rant about the 19th Amendment and how a lot of women didn't want to be able to vote because then it would mean that they would have to get drafted, and a lot of them didn't want to get drafted for war, but then again, second, third wave feminism, here we are. But back then, once again, we see, just like feminism and every other radical movement, that we didn't in fact get equal treatment. We ended up with special privileges because here we are and we can vote, but we can't get drafted into war, right? And that's a lot of these big BLM, another example, right? Antifa even. Like a lot of these organizations that claim to want equity or equality are in fact only searching for special privileges and special treatment. And the groundwork for these people to be able to do that was set in place with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And you can't change my mind on that. I completely agree with Charlie in that respect. I believe most of the people that had a hand in it had really great intentions. I think people wanted to protect Americans and make sure that we're all created equal. They wanted to make sure we're all treated equal, right? But this is a big problem when we look into anything that's a good thing that becomes radicalized, which is you could pick any one of a million things, right? Gay rights versus the trans issue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have a good idea and then you let it run wild. It should have been, people have asked what would have been better before to Charlie, and Charlie's answer was it should have been far more narrow and far more narrowly tailored and specific in its writing. So sorry. I knew my chat had frozen. Right. I completely agree with laws from the heart, not a great idea. Completely agree. He would be, even though he was a serial cheater and a whole bunch of other things. Well, I'm like, how much do we... But whatever, we're not going to talk about that, right? Right. That part, though. And here's my thing, right? And this is another thing Charlie talked about often because it's the truth, is that the left wants us to be race obsessed. And the right, or the left, wants us to focus on everything that makes us different and make that our personality and get special treatment for each of those things, right? The left would like us all to play Victim Olympics, find out what trophy we win, and compare them all to each other, right? Whereas the right says, none of that matters. We want to be colorblind, not race obsessed. That's how Charlie put it. The left is race obsessed. Everything is about race. The right wants to be colorblind, because all these conversations about how race makes us so different because of our different inherent experiences as a white man or a black man, or an immigrant, or a Latino man, or whatever, Asian woman, whatever you could pick, right? This whole idea that in America, in 2025, our skin color alone impacts the kind of life we're going to have because we are inherently treated so much different because in their mind racism is in fact embedded in our society and culture still in 2025 is completely false, right? And that's a hill I'm willing to climb up and die on. And I think institutional racism died a while ago. I think, of course, there are still pockets in America. There will be individuals who are hateful forever, unfortunately. So, in small pockets and within certain individuals' evil hearts, there's still racism, xenophobia, sexism, whatever it might be, hate, period, right? But systematically, racism is no longer a thing. We just need to go ahead and accept this and move forward because nobody can prove me wrong at this point. And in fact, there are so many protections for people of color, for women, for trans folks, for this and that and this and that, that the white man is really getting the short end of the stick, having to work twice as hard for the same job positions, etc., because of things like DEI or places in college, etc., that, like, if anything, not to mention government-funded programs, etc., there's just so many ways that you are benefited by being a quote-unquote minority in this country at this point that you cannot convince me institutional racism is still a thing. It's dead. It's gone. The opposite of the right. The wrong. Right. Judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. Yep. 100%. 100% he was Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee. So glad to see you, by the way. And that's exactly the problem, is that we don't do that anymore. And we see people... I really, more than anything, I feel like I judge people based on their values. I was about to say political beliefs, but it doesn't really have much to do with your politics besides the fact that your politics are downstream of your values and your beliefs, right? And, yeah. Able-bodied white men, because remember, affirmative action helps women. Supposedly. If you go back and watch news programs or read articles for 2010, words like racist, white supremacy use less than 10% of how often they're used now. I'm not surprised, because those are the hot button issues, the topics that get clicks. Like, we are really living in a world where we have not talked about or focused on race as much as we do now, probably since slavery. I mean, if you really think really hard about it, the only time race ever came up, say I'll use your metric, 2010 or prior, since literal slavery, was when something inherently, overtly, obviously racist happened in public, and it was caught on film, or talked about by witnesses and exposed, etc., right? The only time race was ever at the forefront, truly, or when it was something like, oh, she's the first Indian Supreme Court justice, or, like some huge, when it was actually a big deal, which you could argue that first may not be, whatever, but when it was almost justified to mention, it was mentioned. Whereas today, race is like your moniker. It's almost like your surname, like race or whatever other multiplier, I kind of jokingly call it sometimes, because then there's this whole idea that there's intersectionality and you could be black and you could be gay, but Lord forbid you're a black gay, even though I know a guy named Cho that would just tell you exactly how fabulous he is and stomp on you about it, okay? It's just this whole idea that people are less than if they're this or that. To me, that's the hateful side. The side that believes that these people are less than and they need special privileges to compete with other people. That's the hateful side. Not the side that says, I think we're pretty much all the same. No, you're not wrong, which is crazy, because what is the only form of racism acceptable in 2025? Racism against white people. Most non-white people will in fact tell you that you cannot be racist against white people in the year of our Lord 2025. And it's most certainly acceptable to be white hating, right? However, like, how many of us are getting on the internet and crying about it, right? Because we realize it's ridiculous. Just like every other person of color should look at any one single person or instance of racism they might face, even though I question that a lot of them are even, unless they're on film, like the one guy Charlie argued with, and he said he was hate crime 6 times in a night, and a bunch of Donald Trump supporters threatened to rape him. That was the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life, by the way, but whatever. A lot of them are probably made up, but I feel like if people would just look at people, if there are actual moments of hateful rhetoric or racism, would just look at them and be like, so fucking what if I'm black, a woman, gay, whatever. Like, why would you not have the same response? It's because in your mind, you feel less than. You do. That's your insecurity that you're projecting on other people. You are holding yourself to a lower standard than we hold you, and then getting angry because we expect you to be on our level because we treat you like a fellow human being. To me, that's crazy. Hey Sam, how are you? Oh, that's so incredibly true, Bonsai. Let's remember that pre-presidential run, Donald Trump was in everything. He was in the rap videos, he was in all the TV shows because everyone loved him, right? Because he's Donald frickin' Trump. And now that he's run for president, and now that he went from historically pretty liberal. I mean, if you look back at the the clips they have speaking about his political views before he ran to the first time he ran, it's like he's getting more and more conservative over time, as do a lot of us. The more and more hated he became, the more quote-unquote racist he became, right? Because he wants to conserve American values. That's crazy to me. Right, isn't that crazy? And then all these people, well, he's not my president. Well, I can see that you want unity and peace. Like, it's crazy. And these are people, like, can I just tell y'all? Can I just tell you? I'm so sick of this. It's both sides argument. Both sides are violent argument. I am so sick and tired of this argument. Can we really not open our eyes and be honest with what is happening? Like, maybe both sides can be hateful. Maybe that both sides can spew rhetoric. But certainly not both sides are going and murdering each other at the same rate. I mean, can we just be honest? The most successful minority celebrities, like Beyonce. I have 2 shorts about her on my channel because exactly that. Exactly. Look, this is what I've been espousing since the beginning, right? We don't need special rules for blacks or whites or Asians or green people or purple people or any of them. The only rule, the colored rule, quote unquote, we need to follow is the golden rule. I've said that from the beginning. And that's how I conduct myself. I'm not perfect, so maybe I fall short sometimes. But, oh, hold on. Wait. I wanted to try one of these. Ooh. Okay, I guess it's just gonna be on my face. That's fine, you know. Okay, I can move it. There we go. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, should I have said towards people of color? Maybe I should have specified. You're right. I should have specified, Molly. People are gonna be really confused by that question. And that's the thing. Can I edit it? Is it too late? Yeah, it's too late. And that's the thing. Like, why is it that I already knew where you were going in your mind as soon as you said that. I already knew. And that's the thing. Like, why is it these days, that we're told that all of these quote unquote minority groups are so hated and held back in society, yet they're the only groups you can't even talk about in any type of differential way or any type of critical way without being labeled an ist or an anti automatically. Right? I would love to get to like 500 so that I can put my earrings in the little carousel, and that's really all I want. I've said that from the beginning, like, just let me put my earrings in the carousel. I made these, see? But don't worry. No matter what, I'll always make, yes, Discord. I'll always make time for you guys. Even if I were to blow up some huge YouTuber, like that would ever happen. The algorithm hates me for the things that I talk about, trust and believe. But even if I were to somehow get bigger, you guys would always. And thank y'all, my little crafty guys. I made little knitting ones too. But yeah, I would love to be able to put them in the carousel, but I don't have huge ambitions of being a YouTuber. That's not my dream or my path. I would like to somehow make a difference with my voice, but I don't know that YouTube's going to be the way that I do that. Oh, you're too sweet, Bobby. I'm really not too far away. I'm almost to 400. I gained, like, just from my last live, like 20 subs, which is so weird because I feel like hardly anybody was in here. Maybe just some of my friends from Discord, I'm not sure. Look at these guys. They're little knitting needles. How cute is that? They're some of my favorites. I cannot agree more, Bonsai. I cannot agree more. And it's really a shame because, you know, a lot of people on the left feel like conservatives just want to keep, which is really funny, by the way, because they say it about white conservatives. When it comes to like the black conservatives that I know, they really don't have much to say about them except that they're like a bootlicker and an Uncle Tom and a coon and all this crazy shit because Lord forbid they disagree. And that makes me crazy as well. But to the white conservatives, they always say that we just want to keep them down. And I'm like, you know, you must be right. You're making some kind of sense. The people that want to treat you as an equal really want to keep you down, right? And your 4 videos. Oh, I do have kitty ones. I have kitty paws too. I just got some like kitties and stuff. I don't know, like a little bit ago, and I only made like one little pair of earrings with them, but they're really cute. A lot of people love cats. I like my cats. I don't like all cats, but I like my cats. They're pretty chill. Loki's still back here behind me, just chilling. You should do some lives. I feel like you definitely have enough subs to do it, Bobby. Go live sometime. Just hang out. It's a lot of fun. Cat chasing the ball of yarn. What are you doing, Fluffy? Talking about cats, and she's over there like, she must have to tinkle. Whoa, exposure. She must have to tinkle. Hold on, let me let her out, as a matter of fact, because she's old. She can't hold it as long as the younger kitty. Come here, baby girl. Out you go. Oh, we need some WD-40 for that thing. Can you see Loki back there? You sure. Look at him. Look at him, handsome self. I have one kind of bigger creator friend that has told me, like, I should go back to knitting and, you're so funny, that I should go back to streaming, like, crafts and stuff and stop with the politics and I could grow, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, people love crafters. And I'm like, yeah, but, like, aren't there already enough people, like, knitting and making Cricut crafts on YouTube? Like, how many white women are talking about politics on YouTube. I could really only name a few. Like, how many, let me rephrase, how many white conservative women? Yeah, what he said. Sackcloth Queen, hi dear, how are you? I'm doing A-okay. How are you, dear? Yes, do a live stream about the bonsais. Do it. How are you, sis? How's our brother Sackcloth? You're too sweet, Bobby Lee. Knitting and nitpicking channel. Now that is something I could do. So good to see you, dear. That's something I could do. Just like be knitting a hat and bitching about politics. Ugh, that seems like something that could really take off. What, cat? Yeah, I saw him shortly yesterday. You guys are too sweet. Love you guys so much. Our Dave Nader in chat. Look at this cat. He is something else. He likes to be touched always. Y'all are too sweet. Far too kind. I cannot with y'all. With friends like you guys, I could succeed at anything. Maybe I'll name it that too. Knitting and nitpicking. That's a pretty good one, Bonsai. I gotta give it to you. That's a pretty good one. That's good. Knitting and nitpicking. Well, thanks, guys. Well, you know, a lot of people tell me that, Dave, and thank you. I appreciate that. That's something I actively try and work on as a person, is being as least judgmental as humanly possible and making people feel like they're not going to be judged or looked at differently for basically telling me anything. And that's something I talked about a little bit earlier, was like how I feel all of us are guilty sometimes of when we try to speak to someone on the left and we're kind of judgy and kind of push them away. And I'm also guilty of that as well. It's something that I've been, actively trying to work on a little bit more, because I think it's just a reflex sometimes, and it's not one that's going to win hearts and minds, certainly, I just love you guys. The best support. You guys are amazing. What? You guys are amazing, and I so appreciate you. I miss coming live. There's just been so much going on. I've barely been on YouTube at all. It's been a whole thing, but I have missed you. You are too sweet. Thank you, Nader. Y'all are so good to me. I don't deserve you guys. Thank you, Bobby. I try. I can't say that it's some virtue, honestly. I just don't know how to be anybody else. Maybe I'm not that great of an actress, but I just don't know how to be any other type of way. Like, what you see is truly what you get. I feel like the people that know me and talk to me outside of YouTube as well, like Dave and Bobby, are some of the biggest friends, like IRL friends that I have from YouTube, can tell you, like, whether you're talking to me here, talking to me for an hour and a half on the phone, you're getting the same version of me. There's not some, like, on-camera Leah. That's very true, Bonsai. I completely agree. Which is another thing that Charlie talked about a lot, because to be honest with someone is to be loving, and I also believe that to be true. Right. And that too, Rick. I feel like, like I was saying earlier, right? Back when I was a staunch liberal, it wasn't because I was demonic or mentally ill. Questionable. But mostly it was because I was kind of deceived into believing some things, like facts about abortion that I talk about a lot, for example, right? And kind of deceived, fleeced, if you will, into thinking that all the conservatives wanted to do was, like, take my rights and lord over my body and et cetera, et cetera. So I thought I was believing in and supporting the right causes. I thought I was doing a good thing. So it wasn't that I was some terrible person like a lot of people from the right believe about the left. It was just that I needed clarity and needed information, facts, you know, to grow up, get a real job, be in the real world, have kids, see how life really works, and see the way that people react to lifing, to see that that's not where I wanted to be, you know? Oh, thank you, Rick. Y'all are too sweet. I'm glad. I try. I like to think I'm maybe helping someone, possibly. That would be the goal overall. Maybe so. Maybe so, Bonsai. Ron! God bless you. So good to see you, dear. I'm that. Maybe too real for real life, Bobby. I'm definitely the friend if we're friends, and I have your back against the world. Whether you're there, whether you're not. If we're in this together, we're in it till the wheels come off. Oh yeah, JFK would be interesting. Either of the Bushes, I don't know how far we'd get. Yeah, I can agree, Bonsai. True, but see, that's the thing though, is like, I feel that there are people who I completely disagree with, like, their values, right? Obama would probably be a good example. However, he's like, he works on his delivery, he's eloquent, speaking, etc. He always dressed very nice, etc., etc. So it's like dressing up a demon. Not that look, I don't think Obama's a demon. That's not what I mean to say. That's just a comparison I'm drawing. Like, demonic as far as disagreement, not as in actually his soul is corrupted by Satan. Come with me here for a second, or evil, whatever you want to call it, right? It's like dressing it up to look nice, right? The Bible tells us that evil is going to come as a beautiful person, right? So there's that. A lot of people thought he could have been the Antichrist. A lot of people think about that about Trump, right? But the thing with Trump, like, he doesn't hide a lot from you. He's pretty self-involved and he's pretty conceited. I can completely agree with that. But I do think he gives a shit about America and about our citizens. A lot of people don't agree with me there, but I do. I think he wants the best for us, and he just doesn't bother with all the pleasantries and the niceties. Like, he's just the person that he is, unapologetically. And if anything, I have a little bit more respect for him because of it. That part. That part. Okay, see, some people think he is a demon. That. Exactly that. Living. Amen, Bonsai. Exactly that, Dave. That's what I mean. Like, people see him as this, like, classy person. It's so crazy, like, the types of things he gets away with. I was just mentioning it to someone who was griping about the mass deportations under Trump, and I'm like, we do remember, right, that Obama, up to that point, had deported more illegal aliens than any president in history. He was really one of the first to do mass deportations. He's the one who built the cages to put the kids in, quote unquote. Like, that's their big talking point, right? Obama built the cages. Like, yet a lot of people don't even know that, and the people that do seem to want to just overlook it, conveniently ignore it. Like, that doesn't fit my narrative. You know, like, I can't believe that about Obama. And that's exactly it. Like, I feel like he could have done almost anything. And he was the first black president, and that meant a lot to people. And he was eloquent in the way that he spoke and dressed things up to be nicer than they were. So whatever was remaining that were on his side would just blindly agree. Autism vibes. A touch of the tism. Is that what you're saying, Rick? A touch of the tism. Oh, the questions I would ask Obama. Obama? Is that who you're talking about, Ron? Yeah, I think he's just... It's funny because I know Donald Trump like came from money, but he almost gives off like troubled teen new money vibes, if that makes sense. Like like oh, what is his name? The CEO of Rainmaker. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. Augustus something. Anyway, when you see him in all of his interviews, that's kind of the impression I get from him. Like, misspent youth, got in some trouble, was against the grain his whole life, and then he went into this whole software development thing and weather modification. He's making a whole lot of money, and so he's just very, like, off the cuff, and, like, he says the craziest things sometimes, just because it's not like he went to, like, finishing school. You know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe that I get from Trump, if that makes sense. Right, exactly. John Hanson. I'll have to look that up. John Hanson. I'm gonna look that up. I have not heard about that, to be honest with you. Here, let me screenshot. Boop. I'm gonna look into that because I haven't heard about it. So I don't want to speak on it and be speaking out of my butt because I just truly don't know anything about it. But I will look into it. If so, we might have to have a whole live stream just on that. But alright, guys. I did return today, see? Look at me go. I'll be back tomorrow, probably. Maybe. Most likely. But I'm trying to go earlier. I feel like the lives do better, and I do better, and I can also get a lot more done after I get done with the lives, so I feel better when I do them earlier, like 8 or 9. Today was not meant to be this late at all, but it is a whole bunch of things happening this morning. But, okay. Yeah, that is interesting. I'm gonna look him up. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I had not heard of this person. At least not so. Oh, hi. How are you, Stoner? Welcome, welcome. Um, Liberia. Oh, he's from Liberia? I mean, you have a point there. I forget sometimes, Dave. That's true. Maybe like 10 or 11. I don't. Let's see how it goes. So good to see you, Stoner. We'll see how it goes. I always say that, and like there for like a week when I was driving to Nana's every single day, it was a lot more convenient to do them early like that. But sometimes it's like I'll get home, I'll like eat a little bit of breakfast, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go live, and then it's like, well, I need to do this, I gotta do that, let me start laundry, and I need to finish these dishes, I gotta lay out dinner. It's like always a million things that I needed to do, so there's that. But, oh, I know. Love you guys so much. Thank you for coming. Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow at some point, okay? We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for stopping in. I always enjoy having conversation with you guys, and we'll see you again